I've got Levi and Bree from Cave Paintings here. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you for doing this so early in the morning. Cave Paintings is a Fox Cities-based band. You guys have been around for a while now. We can say a while now, right?
Yeah, it depends on how you look at it, I guess. We're in some ways we're a brand new band. In some ways we're kind of old. So,
Can you tell me the story of how the band came to be?
oof. Do you want to start or should I?
I can start, I guess, yeah.
All right.
I had been living in Minneapolis for a while, listening to a lot of good music, just like getting the itch to play music and get really good at it because the bands that I love like inspire me to be better. And I moved back up north with my parents after Minneapolis and got really bored. And then just decided to try to come to Appleton and start a band with Levi. So we did, and that's how it started.
Did you two meet at a music festival?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's where we like really hung out
Yeah.
the first time. And that was 2000, I don't know.
11?
Yeah, something like that.
What
Or
was
10.
which festival was it?
Jamming on the Woof.
It's like a Langlade County music festival on the Wolf River.
Yeah.
So it's just bands and tubing?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you hung out there and then decided that you were kind of on the same musical path, more or less, and then decided to see what you could do together?
It took a while to actually like start a band, but we jammed a lot and like played
Busked.
songs. Yeah, and
hung,
busked.
hung out and yeah, it took, I think it was 2014, so yeah, like 3 years later when we actually started like trying to do something, with aims toward like releasing music and stuff like that.
Did you both play guitar when you met?
Yeah,
Yep.
Both self-taught or lessons?
self-taught.
Both self-taught. Yeah.
Awesome. What was the hardest thing about teaching yourself guitar?
Not sounding like a dying dog when I was trying to sing. That took a while.
I don't know.
Do you do books or YouTube? A little of both?
Mostly just like tabs, just learning like how to play chords and covers. This is kind of how I got the ball rolling.
Yeah, I guess it's like half and half for me. My cousin Dustin taught me a lot of what I know about like theory and where to put my fingers and stuff like that. So thanks, Dustin.
What's the first song that you both wrote together? And do you still play it ever?
Would that be Mississippi?
Probably.
I think it is. It's either Mississippi or Physics.
Yeah.
I think Mississippi.
Or Fun Time Mariachi.
Oh, yeah.
I think that might have been it. We don't play that. But we could. It's on the list.
It's on the list to take another look at and maybe do some rearranging on.
You've got I should say you're in the process of working on the next album. Your album that you put out last year was called Primitive. It's a 5-song EP, which did you record that at the train station?
Yep, we did it all at the train station.
Was that the first album that you self-recorded?
No, we did Cave In there too, back in 2014, I think.
Well, I want to talk about the train station a little bit later. Doing a lot of great things there. As far as Primitive, what was the hardest part about recording that album?
Mixing and mastering.
For me, one of the hardest things was there's a lot of the work that comes in with just like kind of setting up the whole structure and skeleton of the song, with just like kind of the drums and the arrangement and the rhythm section and all that. And that to me kind of feels like the work aspect of it. And for me, it's really the fun part comes after that when you get to start like layering different types of stuff and textures and just exploring different sounds. But for Primitive, we had decided not to do that. So we basically did all the work of getting all the structure there and then just left it as just that.
You guys played everything on the album, all the instruments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you, when you toured after that, it took a bit to decide to pull in some more people, right? Were you touring at first as a two-piece?
Yep. Yeah, we did the
was-
first couple shows as a two-piece.
So
And
Levi was doing drums,
mhm.
and you were doing guitar.
Mhm.
Or we were both doing guitar, and then Levi would switch to drums.
How was that? Like, how was the dynamics with that different from now, where you've got a full band?
Yeah, we had to work a lot harder to fill the sound.
Yeah.
It's so much better with a band. You could just kind of take a step back and like let the sound happen instead of like really having to like put everything you have into the 3 minutes or 5 minutes of a song to make it like actually hit hard. So it feels a lot better to like hear like Tegan's guitar parts come through and I'm just kind of like, oh, this is so nice. Or Robin's like violin comes through. We've been trying to do some like bass drops where like I kind of stop and Bloth and Levi are like doing drums and bass. So it's just like it's nice to take a little bit of a breather during the set.
Has everyone been adding to the new songwriting process?
It's we're still mostly working with stuff that just Bree and I write either together or we write the songs sometimes alone and then work on them together. So far it's mostly been the rest of the band just kind of complementing those songs. We have a lot of material from the past few years when we weren't really doing that much. That was just kind of sitting on the shelf that we want to like finish up and get out there. So that's kind of the focus right now. And I'm thinking that as we, finish wrapping those things up, we'll be able to enjoy a little bit more of a collaborative writing process.
Is the next release going to be another EP or a full-fledged album?
It's going to be a full length, full production, yeah.
What are your opinions on the trend of releasing song and just stripping things out for like a month or two and then re-releasing a full album again? What are your thoughts on that?
I am an album guy. I love albums. I think it's a great format, and yeah, just doing single isn't real appealing to me. I get it. I get why it's happening, because the attention is money basically, and that's one way to maintain it. So
Who did the artwork for Primitive?
that was Matt Hildeman, long time good friend of mine.
Was that done on paper or was that done on a computer?
Probably a mix. I'm not
Yeah,
really
I think
sure.
It's a mix.
He lives in Florida now, so we just kind of communicate via, the internet, and he just sends us stuff, and I don't. Sometimes he mentions what he's doing with the medium, but we don't get too far into that aspect of it.
Were you both pretty agreeable on the artwork for that album?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took I think we had a couple of passes of like some different things, but when he came up with what we ended up using, it as soon as we both saw it, we were just yes, like that looks like something that I want to listen to. So
Any thoughts of putting out the next album on vinyl?
We have kind of in the works like 2-song final thing going on, but I think that was ideally, or not, maybe not ideally, but initially gonna be like Pink Lady and You're Good on a split, but that's the only talk of vinyl that we've really had.
When can I buy that?
We're still kind of in negotiations with getting it pressed and stuff. So, yeah, we're kind of not exactly sure yet.
As far as when you're touring, is there a big seller or something that sells more than, like, it seems like vinyl is typically, if you've got vinyl, that's a good seller. Is there anything else that people seem to gravitate towards?
Well, we've been selling stuff in bundles, and people really like the bundles. They're like, you could get one t-shirt, or you could get like this whole bag of things for a little bit more, but you get like a lot of merch. So I think people like the bundles like more than just the single item, which is cool.
Is it hard to, like, when you're touring, is it hard to drag yourself out of bed day after day? Because you guys, unlike a lot of bands from the area that go on weekend tours, you guys will be gone for a while. And I mean, that can be kind of grueling, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And how is that to do something like that? The amount of planning that goes into it. I mean, how do you go about even booking these?
It's insane. It's not a sane thing to do.
Are you planning where you're going to be sleeping before you get there, or are you looking when you get to the city?
We try to do it ahead of time, but sometimes there just wasn't time to do that. So there were a few late night drives and a good amount of naps in public parks. So.
Yeah, we would pull our sleeping bags and pillows out and go nap in the sun on the grass.
Would that be the strangest place that you've had to sleep on tour?
No, that was kind of that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
There were
Just have a salad at a park with our sleeping bags.
there were a few spots. There was one in Iowa. We were Bluff met these people outside this bar, and he said that they offered us a spot. We're like, okay, cool, let's check it out. And on the way there, we were joking, just like, this is just gonna be like a meth house or something. And we got there, and it was a meth house for sure. So we actually ended up, making some kind of excuse, like, oh, we figured something else out with a friend or whatever. And actually we did. We ended up staying in the print shop that printed a bunch of our merch. Luckily that was in the same town. So
let's talk about your new band members. When I say new, they're not really new anymore, but you've got additions to the Cave Paintings over the last year or so.
Yeah, in our current form at full strength, we're a 5-piece, which is the first time we did that was about 6 months ago. And well, first Bluff joined us last spring. We did just a little quick 1-week run around Wisconsin, playing shows with them and their music.
I went to Iowa. That's the first time we played the yacht club.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's around Wisconsin. Yeah.
Sorry.
Checks and balances. This is good.
But yeah, they were, we were doing this little thing together, and we figured, hey, let's fill out the sound a little bit and ask them to play bass with us on the run. And they did, and it was great, and the crowds really seemed to like it. So we just kept that going. That's how Bluff became a part of it.
Then we
want to tell the mystical bean can story?
Sure. So during our 2019 tour, we went to Rockford, and there's a place called the Big Greenhouse, and what was the band called?
Starchan.
So the band Starchan was playing, and Tegan was playing drums for one song and popped a bean can on the ride like hardware and was just tapping the top of the bean can, and we were both really impressed. We were just like, who is this drummer? Oh my God. We're like, just like double take to each other, like, this is great.
That bean can sounded really,
The bean
really
can
good.
sounded really good. So we ended up seeing them again in Milwaukee at River West Public House. They came out to see our show, and we were really excited. We were just like, so do you want to drum for us? Like, that bean can was great. They were like, sure. We could try it out. Let's get together and jam or something. So that's pretty much how that happened. It's not that elaborate of a story, but I could have done better.
Did fine.
That leaves one member left.
Mm-hmm.
You take this one.
Well, we played in Wausau a couple times, and I think it was our first time up there. We played with a band called Granny Panties, and Robin was playing violin with them.
And mandolin.
And she's just an awesome musician and super rad. And then we did kind of a show swap, and they came down and played in Appleton, and I think you asked her about jamming sometime, and she seemed like she'd be into it. And then I asked her again like a couple of weeks later, something like that, and
I feel like we played the Sabbatic. Is that what it was called?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
which
right.
We the Heathens, and that was when it was like, yeah, we're actually gonna get together
Yeah.
and figure this out. So that was cool. It's kind of a blur, all of the shows that we played last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just
How many shows did you play last year?
About 70.
That's crazy. And we posted a video that you guys put out a little bit ago with kind of documenting the past year for you, and it's a great video. You put a lot of clips in there of different bands that you played with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give away how the video starts. It's pretty entertaining. Which brings me to the other thing that must be keeping you both really busy, the train station, which we've talked a lot about on this show. It's a venue run in Appleton. And not only do you do shows there, you do other community gathering things there. Can you tell me a little bit about the train station and the evolution of the train station?
The evolution of the train station. Yeah.
started out with a lot of boxes of people's old VHS tapes, and once those moved, it was the Claw.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like heavier shows. Well, people were really moshing and getting pretty into just pushing each other and stuff.
When you started, when it was the Claw, did you originally go there as just a place to live? Was it your house at first, or was it, and then you decided to do a venue?
Yeah, well, we rented it with a couple other people that had run house venues in the past as well, and we all kind of wanted to do something like that again. So we rented it with them with the intention of doing that and living there.
And then you started doing that. How was it when you first? Was the space already ready to go, or did you have to do a lot of work there to get it ready for shows?
I mean, when we moved in, it was pretty much ready for like punk shows. To kind of have that status, we had to do a little bit of work, and I think the first floor was just covered in a horizontal layer of everyone's things for like the first 6 months, but so we had to like get everyone to move their shit, but
and then
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Once the show started.
yeah.
did pretty, as far as issues or problems, the city was okay. You didn't have cops showing up.
No, the entire time we've been there, which is like 6 years now, we only had the cops show up one time for noise, and I'm pretty sure someone left the garage door open, so can't blame them too much.
You're very respectful of the neighbors. The stuff I've attended there's signs that say, don't linger out here, come in here, respect, the neighbors. And, as far as what the train station is now, can you let our listeners that might not have heard of the train station, what kind of events take place there and how they can get involved or maybe even attend something?
Yeah, you can check out everything we're doing at the trainstation.space. There's an event form there. If you want to put something together, you can fill that out, and as soon as you do, it populates onto the calendar as something that's proposed, not necessarily confirmed, but that way you can collaborate with other members of the community. Anybody can go on there and see what other people are trying to put together and maybe get involved, do like a mixed bill of some kind. So that's kind of the direction that it takes, is to really be a community involved and driven space. Right now we've got yoga on Sundays, and the Arts Inc. does art workshops for kids about every 2 weeks or so. So that's on the calendar. And then when it comes to the music, we're open to anything. We have a hip hop show coming up soon, and there's a metal show the day before that, and there's indie rock and folk and just, anything. We're up for anything.
And you do a lot of stuff there in house. You do video. You said you record there. Do you offer any of these services to bands if they'd like to?
We do
purchase something, different options.
Yeah, we have kind of a tiered system, and you can see that again at the trainstation.space, where we can do, as simple as like one room mic and one camera and send that to you, or we can do a full multi-track, multi-camera video as well for live sets.
We have the question that came in. It says, I love your band name, Cave Paintings. How did you come up with it?
We didn't.
So I think when I was like 17, this was when Levi was running a show house called The Universe, and you were kind of doing some recording stuff down there, and you had all this recording gear that I did not know how to use or really what it was. And we recorded with Riley Crow this really crappy song that I wrote called Baby. Or was it I Don't Know?
It was I Don't Know.
Yeah, see, it also equally as crappy. But we were naming the file, and Riley was just like, Cave Paintings. So that's what the file was called, and we brought it back for the band name. So shout out Riley Crow. Thanks for the cool band name. I don't even know if he remembers that, but it was totally him.
We had Riley on the show a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have back just so I can ask him about that. So Cave Paintings, people can check them out at the train station, I think, in about a month or two.
Yeah, April 25th. We're playing with Meta Discourse. Shout out to Hunter. It's his birthday today.
They're the call.
Oh, yeah, we've got a call. You're on the air with Cave Paintings.
Hey, I really enjoy the music. I think it's pretty awesome. I was just wondering if you guys ever had a chance to tour overseas. What country would you most like to tour?
Well, Europe has been kind of talked about a few times. It's probably the most accessible to us right now, but still pretty far away, I think.
Yeah, I'd be down for anything. I've had some light conversations about visiting Singapore and New Zealand, but yeah, just doing a stretch all around anywhere in Europe would be pretty cool too.
We have another question.
All right.
Do you do music workshops with teens or kids?
Yeah, we do. The Arts Inc. does. They kind of go back and forth between what like kind of visual art or crafting or music stuff. I think recently they had like a guitar workshop, and I can't say too much about what they're doing because I don't specifically know. But it's all on Facebook and the train station website. Part of the way we have things set up at the train station is to try and have it be like this sort of turnkey space where like we don't necessarily have to know what everyone's doing, what's going on. We just kind of make the space available and let people get after what they're into there. So that's why I don't really know exactly where, when, or what they're doing. But I know they do that stuff, so you can check that out online.
Is there someone that runs the venue when you're not around, when you're on tour?
We've got a couple volunteers that do that. Shout out to Carly and Max. And there's a few people that have expressed interest beyond that too. So it's just a matter of kind of doing a little bit of training, showing them where all the switches and signs are, and maybe a crash course in live sound, and, that kind of thing.
Sounds like the train station should possibly take your vote for venue of the year up here in People's Choice. You can go vote, whammies.com. You're both well-traveled. Any bands that people should check out, or any bands that you'd like to give a shout-out to?
The Immaculate Beings out of Minneapolis are a fantastic band. We had a lot of fun playing with them a couple times last summer, and we went to the cities quite a few times last year, so we actually found a number of great bands over there. The Nunnery is amazing. Charlie Doesn't Surf is a fantastic band. LPF is also a fantastic band, and part of it is the train station is kind of positioned to where we tend to catch bands coming from Minneapolis going to Madison, Milwaukee, or Chicago, so we kind of have a unique spot to see a lot of Minneapolis bands coming through the train station too.
I'm sorry,
I was just breathing.
Are you able, with bands coming through the train station, does that allow you to network with a lot of bands as far as when you plan your tours? Do you reach out to a lot of those people?
It definitely helps, yeah. It doesn't hurt at all, that's for sure.
What bands inspire you? That was a question I just stole and used as my own.
River Wireless is a wonderful band out of North Carolina. I met them at South by Southwest 5 or 6 years ago and fell in love with them. They're absolutely fantastic. Johanna Warren was going to play the train station, but ended up having to cancel because of a snowstorm and sickness combined. But she's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I suggest checking her stuff out.
Yeah.
Is there something, this is the controversial part of the show with the hard-hitting questions. When you guys are on tour, is there something that one of you does that annoys the crap out of the other one? Don't hold back either.
I think it changes. I mean, I only really get super annoyed if I haven't slept enough. So it could be anything at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty mellow. We've traveled a lot together, like besides being on tour, and it's pretty easygoing most of the time. Probably the thing that like creeps up just because it's like can be pretty constant is just talking too quiet. And I'm just like, what? Like, if you don't talk louder, we just can't communicate.
That
so
annoys both of us, yeah.
You don't talk quietly, do you? Well, that wasn't as controversial. But doesn't that make you mad? Don't you want to fire back at Levi with something that annoys you?
What?
Wait.
Is there a band that you've played with that was just horrible?
Yes.
Which one?
The one.
Now, so you've toured a lot, as I mentioned. I don't want to say that a billion times, but you've been in a lot of different scenes. You've seen a lot of different scenes. How do these areas? It sounds like you're really familiar with the Minneapolis scene. How do these scenes compare to the scene here in the Fox cities?
It's pretty similar. Things have definitely been blooming, the last few years in the Fox cities. It used to be a little tougher to do original music around here. But I don't know, it's starting to get to where it's comparable. Minneapolis has a super supportive scene. Madison does too. Where pretty much any time we've played there's been a bunch of people showing up, even though we're, relatively unknown, and just being really supportive. And that's starting to happen here too, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
You think that has a lot to do with Mile Music and the different festivals that are starting, like Racket Fest, and I know Electric City didn't go last year, but
yeah, it's definitely part of it. I think a lot of people are just starting to realize too that that's just what we need to do as musicians, is really support each other and just show up and be enthusiastic, which is awesome.
Do you guys want to start a cover band with me and play 80s hits?
Well, Bloth, Levi, and I had an idea for a band called Dad Rock. We've got like 30 songs that we picked out. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but that was when we did our first run, and we were playing really crappy shows and no one was there. We're like, let's just be a cover band because people will show up.
And we'll get paid.
And we'll get paid.
That's a good point. The money's in the cover bands, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's getting better though.
Yeah, and got the message that said do it. Well, it's I think things that in this area, like the train station, I think that's great. I think that Primitive is a great EP. Should check it out. To the listeners, I look forward to hearing what your next album brings. And again, go to the train station, support that venue. It's a gem for the Fox Cities, and it's one of those things that I think people take advantage of the fact that it's actually there with intentions of going to see it. Eventually, without support, it might close down, and then it's going to be a shoulda, coulda, woulda thing. So go see it while it's there. Support the local music and bands that are coming through. Cave Paintings, Levi, Bree, thank you so much for sitting down with me for an hour. I hope I didn't cause you guys to argue with my hard-hitting questions.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you to the listeners, and thank you for the call-in question. Go see Cave Paintings. 2 weeks at Racket Fest. Are you playing before that as well? I think you are.
We're playing in Milwaukee and Wausau and the Big Turn Music Fest, so we've got a few shows around the state before then. You can check out everything we got coming up at cavepaintings.rocks.